Shalom and welcome to this 42nd part of our short Bible study series. And today I want to talk to you about offensive warfare. And by way of introduction, I'd like to read to you from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, beginning at verse 17. And I'm going to be reading from the Hebraic Roots version today so that we can look at some Hebrew nuances here. And Yah'shua answered and said to him, "Happy are you, Shimon ben Yonah," that's Peter, the son of Jonas, "for this was not revealed to flesh and blood, but to you when it was revealed to you by my Father which is in heaven. And I tell you that you are Kephah, and upon this rock I will build my assembly, and the gates of Pakti will not prevail against you, and to you I will give the keys of the kingdom of heaven." Now that is perhaps a little unfamiliar rendition. Most Bible versions will simply speak of the gates of hell not prevailing against him. If the word Pakti is a little unfamiliar to you, it's because it's from the Aramaic. And it's very important that we understand the Hebraic background to many of the scriptures which we read, because otherwise we can impart meanings from our own culture and our own evolved language, which were never a part of the original. So what is, or what are, or what were the gates of Pakti? Now this is an interesting word indeed. If you go to various Greek translations, you'll sometimes find the word Tartarus there, or Tartaru in the Greek. You find that in the Septuagint translation of the Tanakh, or the Old Testament. It's also used in the Greek of 2 Peter 2:4. So what is Tartarus here? This is very much a Greek word, so we must find out what the original Hebrew was. And indeed, this word refers to the lowest parts of Sheol, namely the place which we associate as prison, or a place of torment. In other words, the lowest part of Sheol, or Hades in the Greek. If you read the Shem Tov version of Matthew, it reads Gehinnom. And the Aramaic has Sheol. This is a very unusual phrase, the gates of Sheol not prevailing against the saints, against the Kodashim. How do you imagine that gates can in any way be offensive? Well, to begin with, we understand gates from ancient history as being representative of the portals of security. That is where the security of a city lay. That was also its most vulnerable place. So what has this to do with Sheol, or hell, or Hades, or Takti? And the answer is that there is a vulnerability in the kingdom of hell. Not only that, but gates are fixed or stationary. They do not move. So what we are dealing with is not a moving target, and if you will agree with me that I'm sure that a moving target is far more difficult to hit than a stationary one. So in other words, the gates of hell cannot actually move against us. They are stationary, but through them come our oppressions and our difficulties. So what Yah'shua means, at least on one level, is that the Messianic community, or the assembly, is to take the offensive against the citadel of Satan, because it has its vulnerability, and that is its gates. So the picture that we get in reading this passage is of a victorious community, a victorious church, laying siege to hell and breaking down the gates to release its prisoners. And of course, hell takes its prisoners. There are many people who are in bondage to Satan, and they are, at least metaphorically speaking, if not literally, they are in dungeons. They are in prison in hell itself, which is a spiritual entity. Now, this enemy of ours can and must be subdued if we, as Yahweh's people, are to enjoy a prosperous and victorious life in Messiah. I'd like to read to you from the Amplified version of 1 Peter 5:8, which I think gets across a point rather well. And this is what it says. It says, "That enemy of yours, the devil, roams around like a lion roaring in fierce hunger, seeking someone to seize upon and devour. Now, obviously, Peter did not write those words to scare us to death. I don't know whether you live in a country where lions are actual real entities. We don't have them here in Sweden. We used to have them in England long ago, and of course the Holy Land used to have lions too. They have long since disappeared from those lands. So Peter did not say these things in order to terrify us, because the key word here is like the lion. He didn't say he was a lion. He said that Satan was like a lion. In other words, he put on an act like a lion. And certainly he's ravenous like a lion. He's got a hunger and an appetite like a lion. But as far as being dangerous, well, really, it's just theater. Satan is always an imitator. He's always a fake. He's a bluff. He's a counterfeit. He isn't actually a lion. He's like a lion. There's only one person who's actually described as being a lion, and that, of course, is our Savior himself. And another thing to remember, lest we forget, that whatever claws or fangs Satan once had, they were removed by Calvary, by the cross of Calvary, by the atonement of our Messiah. The real lion is Yah'shua the Messiah, and we need never forget that. He is described as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He doesn't say he's like the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and there were lions in ancient Judah. So he is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, as we read in Revelation chapter 5 and verse 5. So we believers have no strength or ability in ourselves for fighting Satan, or for pulling down gates or anything else. But as we allow the Lion of Judah himself to live in us, we take on the nature of him who is the real lion. We become lion-like ourselves because Messiah lives in us. Our weapons, which in the flesh are fickle and weak of themselves, pass through Elohim and become mighty enough to make hell itself tremble with fears. And we are given the authority through our emunah, through our faith, to storm the gates of hell and to rescue those captives who would be rescued. So let us engage in our spiritual warfare. Let us not be afraid. Let us not be feeble. But let us realize that the Lion of Judah dwells in those of us who have faith, who have emunah, and we should absolutely exercise it. Let us storm those gates. Let us rescue those who are captives, and let us do so to the glory of Yahweh our Elohim. May Yahweh bless your day.